I was sitting in a Chili's off Route 22, staring at my wife's phone while she was in the bathroom, and that's when I saw it. A text message preview that made my stomach drop like I'd been shoved off a cliff. Last night was incredible. When can we do it again? Your husband still clueless? The sender's name was just D with a fire emoji. My hands went numb. 22 years of marriage, 3 kids, a mortgage we'd just refinanced to send our oldest to Penn State. All of it felt like it was collapsing in real time. I'm Kevin Lawson, 47 years old, senior project manager at a construction firm in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I coach Little League. I grill on Sundays. I'm the guy who wears khakis to parent-teacher conferences and actually enjoys mowing the lawn. Not exactly the type who expects to find evidence of an affair on a random Tuesday night. But there it was. My wife, Jennifer, Jenny to everyone who knew her, had left her phone on the table when she excused herself. We'd been married since we were 25, high school sweethearts who got serious in college. She was a dental hygienist, worked 3 days a week at Dr. Patterson's office downtown. Soccer mom, PTA volunteer, the woman who still packed my lunch most mornings with little notes tucked inside. Or so I thought. I should have put the phone down. I should have waited, asked her directly, given her a chance to explain. That's what the old Kevin would have done. The trusting husband who believed in communication and working through problems together. Instead, I unlocked her phone. I knew her passcode. Of course I did. It was our anniversary, so 614. She'd never hidden it from me because we'd never had secrets. Or at least, that's what I'd believed until 30 seconds ago. The messages loaded, and my world disintegrated. Hundreds of texts. Photos I couldn't unsee. Not explicit, but suggestive enough. Dinner receipts from restaurants in Bethlehem and Easton, places she'd never mentioned going, references to hotel rooms, inside jokes, pet names that made my skin crawl. The affair had been going on for 7 months. 7 months of working late. 7 months of girls' nights out. 7 months of me being the idiot husband who believed every word, because why wouldn't I? We were solid. We were the couple other couples envied. We'd survived the rough patches, the miscarriage between our second and third kid, the year I got laid off during the recession, her mother's death from cancer. This wasn't supposed to happen to us. I heard the bathroom door open across the restaurant. My heart hammered against my ribs like it was trying to escape my chest. I had maybe 10 seconds to decide what to do. Confront her here? Pretend I hadn't seen anything? Scream? Cry? Flip the table? I did none of those things. Instead, I took out my own phone and started taking photos of her screen. Every message I could capture, every photo, every damning piece of evidence. My hands shook so badly I had to brace my elbows against the table to keep the images from blurring. "Hey, sorry about that," Jenny said, sliding back into the booth across from me. Her smile was warm, familiar, completely normal. The line was crazy. "Did you order yet?" I looked at my wife, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in years. She'd gotten her hair done recently, blonde highlights that caught the light. New lipstick, darker than her usual shade. She'd lost weight over the past few months, which she'd attributed to finally sticking to that keto diet her sister recommended. Now I understood. She'd been getting ready for someone else. "Not yet," I managed, my voice sounding strange and distant in my own ears. I placed her phone back on the table between us, screen down. "I was waiting for you." "You okay?" she asked, reaching for her water glass. "You look pale." "Just tired," I lied. "Long day at the site." The waitress appeared, and somehow I ordered food I knew I'd never be able to eat. Jenny chatted about something one of the neighbors had said, some drama with the homeowners association. I nodded in the right places, made appropriate sounds, played the role of attentive husband while my mind raced through everything I'd just discovered. Who was Dee? How had they met? Did anyone else know? Were people laughing at me behind my back, the clueless husband whose wife was stepping out on him? And more importantly, what was I going to do about it? I'm not a violent man, never thrown a punch outside of a scuffle in 8th grade over a stolen basketball. But sitting there, watching Jenny laugh at something on her phone, probably another message from him, I felt something dark and cold settle in my chest. She'd made a choice. She'd chosen to betray everything we'd built together. And now I had to make a choice of my own. The old Kevin would have confronted her right there, demanded answers, probably cried, definitely begged her to explain, to make it make sense. He would have asked what he'd done wrong, how he could fix it, whether they could work through this. But the old Kevin died the moment I saw that text message. The new Kevin, the one being born in this chain restaurant booth while his wife of 22 years ate loaded potato skins and checked her phone. He had different plans entirely. I was going to document everything. I was going to protect myself and my kids. And I was going to make absolutely certain that when this marriage ended, and it was going to end, I wouldn't be the one left with nothing. Jenny looked up from her phone and smiled at me. "I love you," she said, like she'd said 1,000 times before. "Love you too," I replied, and started planning her downfall. The drive home felt like riding in a stranger's car. Every familiar landmark, the Wawa on the corner, the strip mall where we'd bought Emma's first bike, the elementary school where I'd coached Tyler's soccer team, looked different now. Tainted. Jenny kept talking about something, her voice a pleasant hum I couldn't quite process. Something about needing to reschedule her Thursday shift because Danielle wanted to swap days. "That's fine," I heard myself say. My voice sounded normal. "How is that possible?" "You okay? You've been quiet since dinner." "Just thinking about the Henderson project." The lie came easily. Too easily. "We're behind schedule and Patterson's writing me about the budget." She reached over and squeezed my hand. Her touch made my skin crawl, but I forced myself not to flinch. "You work too hard, babe. You need to relax more." "Babe." She called him that too. I'd seen it in the texts. "Miss you, babe. Can't wait to see you, babe. Last night was amazing, babe." "Yeah," I said. "Maybe you're right." We pulled into the driveway at 8:47. I knew because I'd started tracking everything now, mentally cataloging times and details like evidence at a crime scene. The porch light was on. Jake's bedroom window glowed blue, probably gaming with his headphones on. Emma's room was dark. Tyler's light was on, likely doing homework or pretending to while scrolling through his phone. Normal. Everything looked so goddamn normal. Jenny headed upstairs to check on the kids. I went to my office, the converted bedroom at the back of the house that I'd claimed years ago for the rare nights I brought work home. I closed the door, sat down at my desk, and pulled out my phone. My hands shook as I opened the photos I'd taken. 43 screenshots. I went through them methodically now, reading every word, studying every detail I'd rushed through at the restaurant. "Can't stop thinking about you. Your body is perfect. 3 hours wasn't enough. I need more. Does he suspect anything? No, he's clueless. Too busy with work to notice." That one hit different reading it a second time. The casual dismissal, the contempt. 22 years and I'd become a punchline in her secret life. I scrolled further back in the conversation. The affair had started in late March, 7 months ago. The first messages were cautious, almost innocent. "Great meeting you today." Then, "I keep thinking about our conversation." Within 2 weeks. This is probably wrong, but I can't help it. Wrong. She'd known it was wrong and done it anyway. I found the photos she'd sent him. Nothing fully explicit. Jenny was too careful for that, but suggestive enough. Her in a black bra I'd never seen. A shot from behind in jeans that showed off the weight she'd lost. One taken in our bathroom mirror, wearing a towel, captioned, Thinking of you. Our bathroom. Our house. While I was probably downstairs watching the Phillies or helping Jake with algebra. My stomach lurched, and I had to breathe through my nose to keep from being sick. The door opened. I nearly dropped the phone. "Hey!" Jenny leaned against the door frame, already changed into her pajamas, soft gray pants, and a Penn State t-shirt that had belonged to me first. "Kids are good. Emma's already asleep. Jake says he'll be off in 20 minutes, but we both know that means an hour." I locked my phone and set it face down on the desk. "How's Tyler?" "Stressed about his English paper. I told him you'd look it over tomorrow if he wants." "Sure, no problem." She studied me for a moment, head tilted. "You sure you're okay? You seem off." "Off." I discovered my wife was sleeping with someone else 4 hours ago, and she thought I seemed off. "Long day," I said. "I'm fine." "Okay." She didn't sound convinced. "I'm going to take a bath and turn in early. Don't stay up too late, okay?" "I won't." She crossed the room and kissed the top of my head. I smelled her shampoo, something new, more expensive than her usual brand. Had he bought it for her? Had he run his fingers through her hair while it was still wet, pulled her close, told her she smelled good? The bathroom door closed upstairs. Water started running. I pulled my phone back out and kept reading. The messages revealed a pattern. They met on Tuesdays and Thursdays, her work days, sometimes during her lunch break. Sometimes she'd claim to be working late when the office closed at 5. I cross-referenced the dates with my own calendar. All those late nights she'd texted saying she was grabbing dinner with Melissa or running errands. All those Tuesday evenings she'd come home an hour later than usual, blaming traffic or a last-minute patient. Lies. All of it. I found references to hotels. The Courtyard off Route 78, a place in Bethlehem I didn't recognize. Once, horrifyingly, our house. "He's at the Henderson thing until 8, we have time." On a night I'd been at a work dinner in Philly. They'd been in our bed, our home, while our kids were, downstairs? At friends' houses? I had to stand up and pace to keep from putting my fist through the wall. Focus. I needed to focus. Emotion was the enemy right now. I'd learned that in project management. When everything goes sideways, you don't panic, you make a plan. I opened a new note on my phone and started typing. Evidence collected. 43 screenshots of text conversation. Timeline. Affair began late March. Meeting schedule, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Locations. Courtyard Hotel. Route 78, unknown Bethlehem location. Our house, at least once. Accomplice, possibly Melissa. Cover story. Next steps. Download bank statements, check for unusual charges, review phone bill for unknown numbers, identify D, document her schedule, movements, consult attorney, discreetly, protect assets, gather more evidence before confrontation. Questions. Who is D? How did they meet? Does anyone else know? How long can I maintain the facade? The last question bothered me most. I'd never been good at deception. Jenny used to joke that I couldn't keep a surprise party secret to save my life. But that was old Kevin, the guy who believed in honesty and communication and working through problems together. New Kevin understood that some betrayals couldn't be worked through. Some lies were unforgivable. The water shut off upstairs. I heard Jenny moving around the bathroom, her nighttime routine. I could time to the minute after 2 decades of marriage. 3 minutes for teeth brushing, 2 minutes for face washing, 30 seconds for moisturizer. Then she'd come to bed and probably try to cuddle, maybe initiate sex if she was feeling affectionate. The thought made my skin crawl. I couldn't do it. Not tonight. Not with those images fresh in my mind, those words echoing in my head. Your body is perfect. I need more. He's clueless. I needed an excuse, something believable. My phone buzzed. A work email from Patterson about tomorrow's site inspection. Perfect timing. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close, then gave it another 5 minutes before heading upstairs. Jenny was already in bed, reading something on her phone. She looked up when I entered and smiled. That smile. I'd loved that smile for 24 years. Now it looked like a mask. "Hey," she said. "Thought you might have fallen asleep down there." "Patterson just sent a novel about tomorrow's inspection. I need to review the specs before the meeting." I grabbed my pillow. "I'm going to crash in the guest room so I don't keep you up." Her face fell slightly. "Oh, okay. You said you wanted to turn in early anyway." "Yeah, I know. She trailed off, then shook her head. "Never mind. Get some rest." I left before she could say anything else. The guest room was cold and impersonal, decorated in the bland neutrals Jenny had chosen when her mother visited last Christmas. I lay on top of the covers, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling, phone clutched in my hand. Somewhere in this town, maybe right now, Dee was texting my wife. Maybe asking about tonight. Maybe planning their next meeting. Maybe laughing about the clueless husband who worked too much and never suspected a thing. My phone lit up. For one paranoid second, I thought it might be him somehow, but it was just a notification from the bank. My credit card payment had processed. The bank. I opened the app and logged into our joint checking account. We'd always kept our finances combined, one of those trust things that seemed important in a marriage. Now I scrolled through months of transactions looking for anything unusual. There. Chili's, 2 months ago. We hadn't eaten there together. I checked my calendar. I'd been in Harrisburg that day for a conference. So who had she taken to Chili's? I kept scrolling. Charges I didn't recognize. Restaurants. A boutique in Bethlehem. Victoria's Secret, 187 in June. The black bra from the photo, probably. Bought with our money. Worn for him. My jaw clenched so hard it ached. This was just the beginning. Tomorrow I'd start pulling everything. Phone records, credit card statements, her work schedule. I'd find out who Dee was if I had to hire a private investigator. I'd document every lie, every betrayal, every dollar she'd spent on her affair. And then, when I had everything I needed, when there was no possible way for her to deny or minimize or explain it away, I'd burn her whole world down. The guest room bed felt like a slab of concrete beneath me, but I couldn't have slept in our bed. Not after what I'd seen. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages. Miss you already. Can't wait to taste you again. I gave up trying to sleep around 3 in the morning. My office became command central. I'd already emailed myself all 43 screenshots from my phone, and now I sat there in the blue glow of my monitor, creating a folder structure that would make a forensic accountant proud. Evidence, timeline, financial, unknown. The screenshots went into evidence, each one renamed with a date and brief description. I started building the timeline document next, a spreadsheet tracking every mention of a meeting, every reference to a date or time. The affair had started in late March, best I could tell. 7 months of lies. 7 months of kissing her goodnight while she thought about him. I pulled up our joint bank account. Jenny had her own login, her own debit card, but I'd always been the one who managed our finances. She never bothered checking the statements. Why would she? She trusted me. The irony tasted like battery acid. I started with March and worked forward, highlighting anything unusual. There, March 23rd, a charge at the Vineyard, that wine bar in Bethlehem. $73. She'd told me she was working late that night, covering for another hygienist. I remembered because Emma had a violin recital and Jenny missed it. April 11th, Victoria's Secret, $142. April 19th, another charge at the Vineyard, $81. May 2nd, the Courtyard on Route 78. I felt my jaw clench. That one I'd already seen in the messages. Room 314 was perfect. Loved the view, but I only had eyes for you. His response had made me want to put my fist through the screen. I kept scrolling. The charges painted a pattern. Tuesdays and Thursdays, just like I'd noticed in the texts. Restaurants I'd never been to. The hotel, 3 more times that I could see. A charge at Nordstrom for $206. When had Jenny ever shopped at Nordstrom? My wife had become a stranger, and I'd been too blind to see it. The phone bills were next. I logged into Verizon, pulled up the detailed usage reports. Jenny's line showed hundreds of texts to one number, starting in late March. The volume was staggering. Some days 30, 40 messages back and forth. Most of them during work hours. I copied the number into a text file, stared at it. 10 digits that belonged to the man who'd been sleeping with my wife. Finding out who he was would be easy enough. Reverse phone lookup, maybe. Or I could just call it, see who answered. But something held me back. I wasn't ready for that confrontation yet. Not until I had everything documented, every detail locked down tight. Instead, I started going through the screenshots again, this time looking for clues about his identity. Jenny had been careful. No names in the messages, just D with that stupid fire emoji. But people slip up. They always do. There. A message from June. Can't believe we ran into the Pattersons at the restaurant. Thought my heart was going to stop. The Pattersons. Tom and Lisa Patterson lived 4 streets over. Tom worked in… what was it? Insurance? No, real estate. He sold commercial properties. I grabbed a notepad, started writing. Dee knows the Pattersons. Commercial real estate connection? Another message from July. Your presentation killed it today. So proud of you. So he gave presentations. Professional job then. Not construction. I knew everyone in the local construction scene, and none of them fit. August. Tell your sister I said the wedding photos turned out amazing. He had a sister. Recently married, or at least recently had photos taken. I was building a profile, piece by piece. Professional. Connected to commercial real estate somehow. Sister who just got married. Lived locally. Had to, given the frequency of their meetings. The sky outside my office window was starting to lighten. Gray dawn creeping across the neighborhood. I heard the shower turn on upstairs. Jenny getting ready for work. It was Wednesday, one of her days at the dental office. Or was it really? I pulled up the dental practice's website, found their hours. Open today, 9 to 5. I could call, verify she was actually there. But that might tip my hand if the receptionist mentioned it to Jenny. Better idea. I'd drive by. The office was in a strip mall off Cedar Crest Boulevard, 15 minutes from our house. I could swing by around 10, see if her car was in the lot. The shower shut off. I listened to the familiar sounds of Jenny's morning routine. Blow dryer, closet door, opening and closing, her footsteps on the stairs. The coffee maker beeped in the kitchen. I should have been exhausted, but I felt wired, electrified. My hands were steady as I closed all the windows on my computer, cleared my browser history out of habit. I'd learned that from her, apparently. How to hide things. Kevin? Her voice drifted up from downstairs. You up? I took a breath, put on the mask. Yeah, in my office. Be down in a minute. When I came downstairs, she was pouring coffee into her travel mug, the one Emma had given her for Mother's Day with "World's Best Mom" printed on the side. She'd paired it with a blue scrub top I'd never seen before, fitted enough to show off the weight she'd lost. For him. You look tired, she said, and had the audacity to sound concerned. Did you sleep okay? Guest room bed's not great, I said. But I didn't want to wake you coming to bed so late. She smiled, bought it completely. You work too hard. Maybe this weekend we could do something? Just the two of us? Your mom said she'd take the kids. Just the two of us. I wondered if she'd cancel at the last minute, claim some emergency, go meet him instead. Sure, I said. Sounds good? She kissed my cheek on her way out, and I stood there in my kitchen, watching her car back out of the driveway, wondering how many times she'd done exactly this, kissed me goodbye, and driven straight to him. My phone buzzed. Text from my project supervisor. Concrete pour delayed until Thursday. Take the morning if you need it. Perfect. I waited until Jenny's car disappeared around the corner, then grabbed my keys. The dental office was a quick drive, and I found a parking spot across the street with a clear view of the employee lot. Her silver Honda Accord sat in its usual space, third row back. So she was actually at work. Today, at least. I sat there for 20 minutes, watching the front entrance, feeling ridiculous and justified in equal measure. This was what my marriage had become: surveillance and suspicion. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Jenny's phone. Who is this? My blood went cold. I stared at the message, mind racing. Jenny's phone? But I was looking at Jenny's car right now, which meant her phone was with her, which meant another text. Found this phone in my son's toy box. He's 6. Says he got it from the closet. There are some concerning messages on here. Oh God. Oh no. Tyler. Our 6-year-old must have found Jenny's old iPhone, the one she'd upgraded from last year. I'd watched her factory reset it, or at least I thought I had. We were supposed to donate it to that electronics recycling program through the school. Concerning messages could only mean one thing. I typed back, "This is Kevin Lawson. That's my wife's old phone. Where did your son find it?" The response came immediately. Your wife's phone? Jesus Christ. Look, I don't want to get in the middle of whatever this is, but there are texts on here between someone named Jenny and my husband. A lot of texts. The parking lot seemed to tilt sideways. Your husband's name? Derek. Derek Phillips. And based on what I'm reading, I think we need to talk. The phone buzzed in my hand again. I found it in our closet. The whole conversation is still here. Everything. My hands shook as I typed back, "How long ago did you find it?" 20 minutes. I was looking for my winter boots and found it in a box. It was still charged. He must have been using it recently. I stared at the screen, my mind racing. Derek's wife had found the phone 20 minutes ago. She was probably sitting in her house right now, going through the same nightmare I'd been living for the past week. Reading messages, seeing the timestamps, realizing her husband had been lying to her face. "Can you send me screenshots?" I typed. Of everything? The reply came fast. Already doing it. But I need to know, when is your wife usually home? I glanced at the clock on my computer. 4:47 p.m. Jenny would be picking up our youngest from soccer practice in about an hour. Then they'd grab dinner somewhere before coming home. She'd mentioned something about Panera this morning. Not until 7 tonight, I sent back. She's got our son's practice. Good. My husband gets home at 6. I need to figure out what I'm doing before then. I understood that feeling completely. The frantic need to plan to stay ahead of the chaos, to maintain some illusion of control while your entire world collapsed. "What's your name?" I asked. A pause. Then, Alicia. Alicia Phillips. Kevin Lawson. Another pause. "I'm sorry we're meeting like this," she wrote. I almost laughed. Sorry. As if politeness mattered when our spouses had been screwing each other in hotel rooms for 7 months. Me too, I typed anyway. My phone buzzed with incoming messages, screenshots, one after another. I opened them, my stomach twisting as I recognized Jenny's words from a different angle. These were Derek's messages, his side of the conversations I'd already read. Can't wait to see you Thursday. Been thinking about last time all week. She's going to her sister's this weekend. We could get a whole night together. I love you too. This is real. You know that, right? I closed my eyes, breathing through my nose. The screenshots kept coming. Alicia was thorough. I'd give her that. She was sending me everything, just like I documented everything on Jenny's phone. There's photos too, Alicia wrote. Do you want those? Did I? I'd avoided looking at the pictures on Jenny's phone, the few times I'd seen the camera roll icon in the messages. I didn't need to see my wife naked with another man. I didn't need that image burned into my brain. But evidence was evidence. Send them, I typed. The first photo made my jaw clench. Jenny in a hotel bathroom mirror, wearing black lingerie I'd never seen. Her hair was down, makeup perfect, that smile I used to think was just for me. The second was worse. Derek's face finally visible, a guy maybe my age, maybe a little younger, with dark hair and the kind of smile that probably made women trust him. His arm was around Jenny's waist. They were in bed, sheets tangled around them, both grinning at the camera like teenagers. I saved every photo to a new folder on my phone, added them to my growing collection of evidence. How did you find the phone? I asked Alicia. Pure accident. I was looking for boots in our closet and knocked over a box. The phone fell out. I didn't even know he had a second phone. Same setup my wife had, burner phone for the affair. Except he's an idiot who kept it at home. I almost smiled at that. Yeah, Derek was an idiot. They both were. 7 months of sneaking around, and they'd gotten careless. Jenny leaving her old phone in our closet where our son found it. Derek keeping his burner at home where his wife could stumble across it. Arrogance, maybe. Or they'd just gotten comfortable in their lies. What are you going to do? Alicia asked. I sat back in my office chair, staring at that question. What was I going to do? I'd spent the last week gathering evidence, documenting everything, playing the perfect husband while rage simmered under my skin. I'd planned to wait until I had everything lined up, lawyer consulted, finances secured, evidence ironclad. But now Derek's wife knew. That changed things. I have a lawyer already, I typed. Been documenting everything for a week. Financial records, screenshots, timeline of their meetings. A week? You've known for a week? Found out last Tuesday. Been playing it cool since then. Jesus. I don't know if I can do that. I want to throw all his stuff on the lawn right now. I understood the impulse. That first night, I'd wanted to burn the house down. But rage wasn't useful. Planning was useful. Don't do anything yet, I wrote. If you tip him off, he'll warn my wife. They'll both lawyer up, get their stories straight. We need to coordinate. A longer pause this time. You're right, she finally sent. God, I hate that you're right. Can you keep pretending until we figure this out? I don't know. Maybe. How do you do it? How do you look at her and not just lose it? I thought about that. How did I do it? How had I sat across from Jenny at dinner last night, listening to her talk about the PTA fundraiser, nodding and smiling while knowing she'd been in a hotel room with Derek 3 days earlier? I think about winning, I typed. I think about her face when she realizes she lost everything. That gets me through. Does it help, thinking about that? Yeah, it does. My office door opened and I nearly dropped my phone, but it was just Tom from accounting, dropping off some invoices for approval. I nodded, signed where he pointed, waited for him to leave. When I looked back at my phone, Alicia had sent another message. I have an idea. Can I call you? I hesitated. A phone call felt different than texts, more real, more committed. But she was right. We needed to talk this through. Give me 5 minutes. I'll call you from my car. I grabbed my jacket and headed out, telling my assistant I needed to pick up supplies from the Bethlehem site. In my truck, parked at the far end of the lot, I dialed the number Alicia had sent. She picked up on the first ring. "Kevin?" Her voice was rough, like she'd been crying. "Yeah, it's me." "God, this is so surreal." A shaky laugh. "Hi, nice to meet you. Our spouses are sleeping together." "Welcome to the club nobody wants to join." She was quiet for a moment. I could hear traffic in the background, like she was in a car too. "I left the house," she said. "Couldn't stay there looking at his stuff. I'm parked at Target right now, sitting in the lot like a crazy person." "You're not crazy." "I keep thinking I should have seen it. The signs were all there, right? Late nights, the phone he kept face down, the way he'd shower as soon as he got home on Tuesdays and Thursdays." Her voice cracked. "I knew something was off. I just didn't want to believe it." I gripped the steering wheel with my free hand. "I get it. I saw the signs too. New hair, new clothes, the gym membership she suddenly cared about. I told myself she was just taking care of herself. We're idiots. No, we trusted our spouses. That's not the same thing." Alicia was quiet again. When she spoke, her voice was steadier. "So here's my idea. We both know now. We both have evidence. What if we confronted them together?" "Together?" Think about it. They've been playing us both. Meeting up, lying to our faces, probably laughing about how clueless we are. What if we turned it around on them? Showed up together? Showed them we know everything? I turned that over in my mind. The image was appealing. Jenny's face when she saw me walk in with Derek's wife. The panic. The realization that their secret was blown wide open. But it was also risky. "If we confront them together, we lose the element of surprise," I said. "Right now, they think they're safe. That gives us power. Or it gives them more time to lie." She had a point. The call with Alicia ended with a plan. Friday night. 5 days from now. We'd confront them together at my house. Neutral ground where Derek and Jenny couldn't retreat to separate corners, couldn't control the narrative. Where they'd have to face both of us, face what they'd done, with nowhere to hide. 5 days felt like an eternity, and no time at all. I spent Monday night organizing the evidence into 2 identical folders, one digital, one physical. Every screenshot, every receipt, every credit card statement showing charges at the Hampton Inn on Route 78, the burner phone records Alicia had found, the timeline I'd constructed showing their pattern. Tuesdays and Thursdays, like clockwork, for 7 months. Sometimes longer sessions at the Courtyard by Marriott in Bethlehem when they wanted more time. The physical folder was 2 inches thick. I'd printed everything in color, organized it chronologically with tabs, bank statements, the screenshots from that night at Chili's, text messages where they discussed me. "He's working late again," and "he never suspects anything. He's too busy with the Easton project." Messages about Derek's wife. "Alicia's visiting her sister this weekend. We have all Saturday." Looking at it all laid out, I felt that same cold clarity I'd had since the beginning. This wasn't rage anymore. It was something cleaner, sharper. Purpose. Tuesday morning, Jenny kissed me goodbye before heading to work. Same routine as always. Coffee in her travel mug, purse over her shoulder, quick peck on the cheek. "Don't forget Tyler has practice at 6, she said. "I should be home by 5:30. "Got it," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "See you tonight." She wouldn't be home by 5:30. She'd be home by 7, maybe 7:15. Because Tuesday was Derek Day. She'd tell me there was an emergency patient or inventory to count or some other excuse I'd stopped questioning months ago. Back when I was old Kevin. Back when I trusted. I tracked her phone that afternoon. Watched the little blue dot move from the dental office to the Hampton Inn at 3:47 p.m. Watched it sit there, stationary, for 2 hours and 33 minutes. Watched it move back toward home at 6:20 p.m. with a stop at Target. Her alibi, probably. She'd come home with a bag of something unnecessary. Bathroom cleaner, or paper towels, or a throw pillow for the couch. She walked in at 7:03 p.m. carrying a Target bag. "Sorry I'm late," she said, setting the bag on the counter. "We had a patient emergency, then I figured I'd grab some things we needed." I glanced at the bag. Laundry detergent and a 3-pack of kitchen sponges. "No problem," I said. "Tyler's practice went long anyway. I just got back 20 minutes ago." The lie came easy now. Tyler's practice had ended at 7 sharp, same as always. I'd been home since 7:15, watching her location dot move across the map, timing her arrival. She smiled, kissed my cheek again. Her hair smelled like hotel shampoo, not the coconut stuff she used at home. "I'm going to take a quick shower before dinner," she said. Of course she was. Wednesday, I met with Tom Brennan, the divorce attorney I'd consulted 3 weeks ago. His office was in Bethlehem, far enough from Allentown that I wouldn't run into anyone we knew. "I want to move forward," I told him, sliding the 2-inch folder across his desk. Friday night, I'm confronting her. I want the papers ready to file Monday morning. Tom opened the folder, started flipping through. His expression didn't change. He'd probably seen worse, or at least equally bad. But he nodded slowly as he worked through the timeline, the evidence, the financial documentation. "This is thorough," he said. "Very thorough. Pennsylvania's a no-fault state, so the affair itself won't affect the divorce, but this..." He tapped the credit card statements. "This shows dissipation of marital assets. Hotel rooms, dinners, gifts, that we can use." "I want her to get as little as possible," I said. "The house is in both our names, but I've paid the mortgage for 22 years. I've got 3 kids to put through college. I'm not funding her new life with her boyfriend." "The house will likely be sold and assets divided," Tom said carefully. "But given the financial misconduct, we can argue for a more favorable split. 70-30, maybe 65-35 if we're lucky. And you'll likely get primary custody given her activities." Not good enough, but it was a start. "What about her retirement accounts? Her 401k from the dental office?" "Marital assets, subject to division. But again, the dissipation argument helps us." I nodded. "Get the papers ready. I want to file Monday." "You're sure about Friday?" Tom asked. "Once you confront her, things will move fast. She could empty bank accounts, hide assets." "I've already moved half our savings to a separate account," I said. "Documented everything. She won't have time to hide anything." Tom almost smiled. "You've done your homework." "I had a good teacher," I said, thinking of those 7 months Jenny had spent lying to my face. She'd taught me patience, taught me planning, taught me how to smile and kiss someone while knowing exactly what they were doing behind your back. Thursday evening, I got a text from Alicia. "Derek just told me he has a work dinner tomorrow night. Said he won't be home until late." I stared at the message, then typed back, "Jenny's going to her book club. Also won't be home until late." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "They're planning to be together Friday night." "Yeah." "Good. Makes this easier. They'll both be lying to us right before we confront them." She was right. It did make it easier. One more lie to add to the pile. One more piece of evidence that this wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. It was calculated, ongoing, deliberate. I texted back, 7 p.m. at my place still work? Perfect. I'll bring the burner phone and my evidence. We'll have everything. See you then. I set the phone down and looked around the living room. This house where we'd raised our kids, where we'd hosted birthday parties and Thanksgiving dinners and Super Bowl gatherings, where Jenny had kissed me on our 10th anniversary and said she couldn't imagine life without me. In 3 days, it would be the place where everything ended. Friday morning, I woke up before Jenny, Lay there in the dark listening to her breathe, watching the ceiling fan rotate slowly overhead. 22 years of marriage, and it came down to this, waiting for the right moment to detonate everything we'd built. She stirred around 6:30, rolled over and draped an arm across my chest. "Morning," she mumbled, still half asleep. "Morning." We lay there for a few minutes, her warm against my side, and I wondered if she felt anything. Guilt, maybe? Regret? Or if this was just routine now, play the role of wife in the morning, play the role of mistress in the afternoon, switch between them as easily as changing clothes. "Book club tonight," she said eventually, sitting up and stretching. "I'll probably be late. You know how Amy gets when she's had wine." "No problem," I said. "I'll handle dinner for the kids." She smiled, leaned down and kissed me. "You're the best." I watched her get ready for work. Watched her pick out an outfit, jeans and a blue sweater that brought out her eyes. Watched her do her makeup, spray her perfume, check herself in the mirror one last time. "Love you," she called as she headed downstairs. "Love you too," I called back. The last lie I'd tell her. At 6:30 p.m., I sent the kids to my brother's house, told them Mom and I needed to have an important conversation, that we'd pick them up later. Emma gave me a strange look. She was 15, old enough to sense when something was wrong. But she herded Tyler and Jake into the car without questions. By 6:45, the house was empty. I'd set up the living room like a stage, the evidence folders on the coffee table, my laptop open and ready to show the tracking data, the screenshots. 2 chairs facing the couch where Jenny and Derek would sit. Alicia arrived at 6:50. She looked like I felt, exhausted, determined, barely holding it together. She carried a small box containing the burner phone and her own folder of evidence. "You ready for this?" she asked. "No," I said honestly, "but we're doing it anyway." She nodded. Set the box on the coffee table next to my folders. We didn't talk much while we waited. There wasn't much to say. We both knew what was coming, had rehearsed it in our heads 1,000 times. The shock on their faces, the denials, the excuses, the moment when they realized we knew everything. At 7:15, I got a text from Jenny. "Book club running late. Be home by 9. I showed Alicia. She checked her phone. Derek just texted. "Work, dinner, going long." "They're together right now," I said. "I know. Probably at a hotel." "I know." I typed back to Jenny. "No rush. Take your time." Then I settled in to wait, because they'd come home eventually. They always did. And when they walked through that door, separately, maintaining the lie right up until the end, we'd be ready. The doorbell rang at 7:03 p.m. I stood from the couch, my legs steadier than I'd expected. Alicia rose beside me, smoothing her sweater with trembling hands. We'd been sitting in silence for the past 20 minutes, the evidence folders arranged on the coffee table like playing cards about to be revealed. "Ready?" I asked. She nodded, her jaw set. "Let's do this." I opened the door to find Jenny standing on the porch, her keys already in her hand. She froze when she saw me, confusion flickering across her face. "Kevin, what are you—" Her eyes shifted past me to Alicia. "What's going on?" "Come in," I said, stepping back. "Derek, too." Derek appeared behind her, his expression shifting from puzzlement to something like recognition. He was taller than I'd imagined, with graying hair and the kind of tan you get from golf courses, not construction sites. His eyes locked on Alicia, and I watched the color drain from his face. "Alicia? What the hell?" "Inside," I repeated. "Both of you. Now." Jenny stepped through the doorway, her gaze darting between Alicia and me. "Kevin, I don't understand. Where are the kids?" "Safe," I said. "At my brother's place. They don't need to see this." Derek followed her in, moving like a man walking to his execution. I closed the door behind them, the click of the lock unnaturally loud in the silence. "Sit," I said, gesturing to the love seat opposite the couch. Jenny's eyes went to the coffee table, to the neat rows of folders. I saw her throat work as she swallowed. "Kevin." "Sit down, Jennifer." She flinched at the use of her full name. I never called her Jennifer, not in 22 years. She sank onto the love seat, Derek settling beside her with the careful movements of someone trying not to set off a bomb. Alicia and I returned to the couch. I picked up the first folder, the one with the screenshots, and opened it. 7 months, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. That's how long this has been going on. 7 months of Tuesday and Thursday book clubs and late meetings. 7 months of the Courtyard Marriott on Route 22. 7 months of lies. Jenny's face had gone white. "Kevin, please." "I'm not finished." I pulled out the first screenshot, the one that started everything. "Last night was incredible. When can we do it again? Your husband still clueless?" "This is from your phone, the one you left on the table at Chili's 3 weeks ago. You went to the bathroom and a message popped up. From D with a fire emoji." Derek shifted beside her, his hands gripping his knees. "I took 43 screenshots that night," I continued. "While you were washing your hands, probably checking your makeup, I was reading about how my wife of 22 years was sleeping with someone else. How she'd been doing it in hotels I helped pay for. How she sent pictures I won't describe in front of present company." Alicia spoke for the first time, her voice cutting. "And I found the old phone, the one you thought you'd wiped, Jenny. The iPhone 11 you shoved in the back of the closet when you upgraded. Except you didn't factory reset it properly. Everything was still there." Jenny turned to look at Alicia, genuine shock breaking through her panic. How did you? "My son found it," Alicia said. "He was playing with it, thought it was just an old phone. He accidentally sent a message from one of your conversations." Derek's reply came through instantly. "When is he leaving?" She laughed, a bitter sound. Imagine my surprise when I checked the message thread and found my husband planning rendezvous with someone named Jenny. It didn't take long to figure out which Jenny. I opened the second folder. Bank statements. The Courtyard Marriott, charged to our joint account 14 times. Bellini's Italian restaurant, the expensive one in Bethlehem, 9 times. Victoria's Secret, 3 purchases, none of which I ever saw you wear. I looked up at Jenny. Though I'm guessing Derek did. She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "Kevin, I'm so sorry. I never meant—" "You never meant what?" I cut her off. "Never meant for me to find out? Never meant to destroy our family? Never meant to throw away 22 years? I tossed the folder onto the table. "Which part didn't you mean exactly?" Derek cleared his throat. "Look, Kevin. Don't." I turned to him, and whatever he saw in my face made him close his mouth. "You don't get to talk. You don't get to explain or justify or apologize. You slept with another man's wife. You helped her lie to her children. You're not owed a conversation." Alicia pulled out her own folder. "I've got phone records too. 1,700 text messages in the past 6 months. Calls lasting up to 45 minutes. Usually late at night, when I thought you were working in your office." She looked at Derek. "Were you ever actually working? Or was it all just her?" He didn't answer. His hands had started shaking. I reached for the third folder, the one from the attorney. "I met with a lawyer on Wednesday, filed preliminary paperwork this morning. It'll be official on Monday." I looked at Jenny. "You'll be served at work." I thought about having them come to the house, but I didn't want the kids to see that. "The kids," Jenny whispered. "Kevin, please think about the kids." "I am thinking about them," I said. "That's why they're not here. That's why I've documented everything, so when they're old enough to ask why their parents got divorced, I can show them exactly what happened. No ambiguity. No. Sometimes adults grow apart nonsense. They'll know their mother chose to have an affair instead of working on her marriage. That's not fair. Fair. The word came out harder than I intended. You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that Tyler spent 3 hours helping you plant those rose bushes in the backyard last month while you were texting Derek? Is it fair that Emma asked me why you seem so happy lately, and I told her it was because she made the honor roll? Is it fair that Jake still thinks his parents love each other? Jenny was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. Derek put a hand on her shoulder, then seemed to think better of it, and pulled back. Alicia stood, her folder clutched against her chest. I haven't decided what I'm doing yet, she said, looking at Derek. But you're sleeping in a hotel tonight, and tomorrow you're going to sit down with our boys and explain why Daddy has to move out for a while. You're going to tell them the truth, that you made choices that hurt people, that you betrayed their mother. Alicia, I'm not finished. Her voice was ice. You're going to transfer $50,000 from your business account into our joint savings. Consider it an investment in my silence. Because if you fight me on anything, custody, property division, anything, I will make sure every single person in your professional network knows exactly why our marriage ended. Every golf buddy, every client, every person at your country club. Derek's face had gone from white to gray. You can't. I absolutely can, and I will. She turned to Jenny. You should know, I called your supervisor at the dental office. Dr. Patterson, right? I told her I'd found some concerning messages on an old phone and wanted to discuss them. We have coffee scheduled for Monday morning. Jenny's head snapped up. No, Alicia, please. That's up to you, Alicia said. If you make Kevin's divorce difficult, if you try to take him for anything he's not offering, I'll show her everything, every message, every photo. Let's see how the practice feels about employing someone who sends explicit pictures during work hours. I watched Jenny crumble, her face in her hands. Part of me, the old Kevin, the one who'd loved her since high school, wanted to comfort her. Wanted to ask what went wrong, where I'd failed, what I could have done differently. But that Kevin was gone. The house is mine, I said. My name's on the deed from before we were married. You'll get what's legally required for spousal support. My lawyer's calculating the minimum. You'll have supervised visitation with the kids until they're old enough to decide for themselves if they want to see you. Kevin, please. I'm not trying to punish you, I said, and realized it was true. I'm just done. Done pretending. Done being the idiot husband who didn't notice his wife was stepping out on him. Done letting you make choices for our family. I closed the last folder. You made your choice 7 months ago. This is mine. The silence that followed felt like pressure, like the air before a thunderstorm. Derek and Jenny sat frozen, their perfect affair exposed and dissected. Alicia stood rigid beside me, her earlier trembling replaced by cold fury. You should go, I finally said. Both of you. I'm sure you can find a hotel room. You've had plenty of practice. Derek left first, stumbling out the door without looking back. Jenny lingered, her mascara-streaked face turned toward me one last time. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. She walked out into the November darkness, and I closed the door on 22 years of marriage. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Jenny didn't fight. Couldn't fight, really, with the mountain of evidence stacked against her. She signed everything my lawyer put in front of her, accepted the minimal settlement, agreed to the custody arrangement. Dr. Patterson let her go 2 weeks after Alicia's meeting, citing workplace conduct concerns. Jenny moved to Reading to stay with her sister, took a job at a clinic there, making half what she'd earned before. Derek's marriage lasted another 6 weeks before Alicia filed. Last I heard, he'd lost 3 major clients after word got around about the affair. Turned out people don't like doing business with men who can't keep their word, even in their personal lives. The kids struggled. Emma stopped talking to Jenny entirely after I showed her the timeline. She'd figured out that her mother had missed her violin recital to meet Derek at a hotel. Tyler asked questions I answered honestly, age-appropriately. Jake was young enough that he adjusted, though he still asked sometimes when Mom was coming home. "She's not," I told him, "but you'll see her next weekend." Alicia and I stayed in touch. Not romantically, neither of us was ready for that. Maybe never would be. But we'd check in every few weeks, compare notes on lawyers and custody schedules, and how to explain betrayal to children who still believed in fairness. "You doing okay?" she asked me 6 months after that Friday night. I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Yeah," I said. "I am." And I was. 2 years later, I sold the house. Too many ghosts, too many memories of a life that turned out to be half fiction. I bought a smaller place closer to the kids' schools, let them decorate their rooms however they wanted. Emma painted hers dark purple. Tyler covered his walls with Phillies posters. Jake insisted on glow-in-the-dark stars on his ceiling. It wasn't the life I'd planned. Wasn't the future I'd imagined when I married Jenny at 25, full of hope and certainty that love conquered everything. But it was real. Built on truth instead of lies, on choices I'd made consciously instead of assumptions I'd accepted blindly. Jenny sent a letter on what would have been our 25th anniversary. I didn't open it. Whatever she had to say, apology, explanation, regret, didn't matter anymore. She'd made her choice. I'd made mine. We were living with the consequences. Some nights, I still thought about that moment at Chili's. The message preview lighting up her phone. The split second where I could have looked away, could have stayed ignorant, could have preserved the comfortable fiction of our marriage. I never regretted looking, because the truth, however painful, was better than living a lie. Better than being the fool who smiled and kissed his wife goodnight while she counted down the hours until she could be with someone else. I taught my kids that. Not through lectures or life lessons, but through example. I showed them that sometimes the right choice is the hard one. That trust, once broken, can't be wished back together. That love without honesty is just performance. Emma graduated high school last month. In her valedictorian speech, she talked about integrity, about making choices you can defend, living in a way that lets you sleep at night. She didn't mention the divorce, didn't reference her mother's absence from the ceremony. She didn't have to. Afterward, at the celebration dinner, she hugged me tight. "Thanks, Dad," she said, "for showing us what it looks like to have a backbone." I held my daughter and thought about the man I'd been 3 years ago. The one who believed in working through problems, in forgiveness, in the sanctity of marriage vows. That man would have tried to save his marriage, would have gone to counseling, asked what he'd done wrong, bent himself into shapes trying to win back a wife who'd already chosen someone else. That man would have lost everything. The new Kevin, the one forged in betrayal and rebuilt through deliberate choice, he'd won. Not because he'd destroyed Jenny's life, though he had. Not because he'd gotten revenge, though some might call it that. He'd won because he'd refused to let someone else's betrayal define his worth. In the end, that's what I learned from the worst moment of my life. You can't control what other people do. You can't make them keep their promises or honor their commitments or love you the way you deserve. But you can control how you respond. You can choose truth over comfort. You can choose self-respect over reconciliation. You can choose to walk away from people who treat you like you're disposable. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is close the door on what you thought you wanted and build something better from the wreckage. I'm not the same man I was before that night at Chili's. I'm harder, maybe. More cautious. Slower to trust. But I'm also free. Free from lies, from betrayal, from the exhausting work of loving someone who didn't love me back. And that, I've learned, is worth everything I lost to get here.